Ah, yes, Africa. What many to this day think is still just one country. Where do we begin with this news? Well, a good start is with this man, Ibrahim Traoré, the 37-year-old president of Burkina Faso, an East African country. He has become Africa's most vocal champion of continental unity and independence from Western influence. Naturally, European leaders hate him and his guts and can't stop going on about how he is a military man and not a democratic leader at all. There's not a vote in sight. We hate him, right? Remember, for the Western powers, democracy is one of their most treasured values, unless people choose for themselves something that does not benefit the West. In that case, here, have this dictator who's a more in line, you guys aren't ready yet to vote and, choose your own future. We, the enlightened West, will help you out until you're ready. We'll help you out. Democracy, essentially, as long as you choose correctly. There is a correct. Just like how everyone is equal, but some are more equal than others. Now, Traore is having none of that. Despite over 10 assassination attempts on his life, he continues to live and surrounds himself with loyal supporters. Burkina Faso, as we'll talk about in future videos, I've talked about Burkina Faso for months though, but it's making more and more headlines more and more frequently. We'll talk about in future videos. Burkina Faso as a state is undergoing huge reforms and decoupling from France, its former colonial master. France, if you didn't know, once had a huge colonial empire, especially in East Africa, where Burkina
Really
Faso
sorry, I
is.
meant West
Now, that's
Africa. My
slowly
brain
being
is fried after
dismantled, either
working
by
all day.
countries leaving ECOWAS, a Europe-leaning union, or abandoning the CFA franc, the currency that ties African states that use that currency to the French economy, for better or worse. Some people say it's for stabilization. Yeah, sure, but it's a subservience mechanism. Or in the case of Traore and Burkina Faso, the breakaway from Europe, the decoupling is a lot more noticeable and a lot more significant. Traore has proposed publicly, just in the last couple of days, a United States of Africa with revolutionary feature suggestions, right? Feature requests. One government system, a unified currency called Afro money, and a single African passport allowing free movement across the continent. Think EU, but bigger and African. For the mutual prosperity of all Africans. Actually, no. Think United States. And you know how there's states like Florida and Texas, and they have governors and they sort of have different characteristics compared to other states. Well, in the United States of Africa, each country would become a state, right? But here's what makes this significant, this idea, beyond just another political proposal that's very unlikely to go anywhere. Traore isn't just talking, he is acting. Since taking power in 2022, he's expelled from the country he currently controls, because he doesn't have all of Africa in his hands, but he does have Burkina Faso. And he's expelled French troops that have been occupying or peacekeeping in the region. He's nationalized the gold mines, bringing billions back to the state and therefore the people. And he's formed the Alliance of Sahel States with neighboring countries Mali and Niger. All three of them just yeeted themselves out of ECOWAS, which is, as I mentioned, a sort of Europe aligned East African Union. And he's built the Alliance of Sahel States as a stepping stone towards broader East African integration, eventually, potentially, Pan African integration across the whole continent. Now, a shocking truth that most people don't know is how a lot of African infrastructure on the continent, especially related to extraction of mineral wealth, which is huge in Africa, a lot of the infrastructure and the wealth is owned by foreign companies, foreign people, and foreign states like France and the UK. Nationalizing something, which I mentioned earlier for Traore and his Burkina Faso gold mines, nationalizing essentially means bringing it into the control of the nation, the state. Means to take the gold mines in Burkina Faso, pull them and their profits under the Burkina Faso state from where whoever was owning them, probably a foreign entity. The profits then don't go to the pockets of Jean-Pierre or Patrice in Paris or wherever they're sitting pretty, but rather they go to the Burkina Faso state to be spent on the people and the country. And that's just one example, right? Because this is TikTok. I can't go through all of them. Now, back to this idea of a United States of Africa. His vision, Ibrahim Traore's vision, resonates with millions of young Africans who have seen decades of economic exploitation despite sitting on vast mineral wealth. We're talking tens of trillions. My. What is this? Anyway, sorry. While many African leaders remain skeptical about surrendering sovereignty of their country to this sort of weird pan African foreign idea, Traore argues that only unity between African states can break the cycle of Western control over African resources. The question isn't whether his plan is realistic. It's not at all. It's as realistic as um, uh, calling for a continent, not continent, globe spanning Muslim world unified under one state, or as realistic as calling for a unified Indian subcontinent. You know, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, they just get together and sing not Kumbaya, sing da na 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 na. That's Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge. Anyway, it's not about being practical though. It's about voicing ideas and finding the millions upon millions of young, energetic Africans, the dreamers, the justice seekers spread across the whole continent, finding out they actually resonate with that. They vibe with that idea of a united Africa that serves the Africans, not the foreigners who were former colonial masters. They, Africans who remain divided by borders drawn by those old colonial masters, borders that still hold them back in many ways, many would argue, borders that serve little to no purpose in many cases, except division. It's about the trajectory of the African continent on the geopolitical world stage. The trajectory is one of moving out from under European subservience towards independence and prosperity. Whether it be the fertile lands that straddle the Nile River in the north, or the mighty rising economies of the young and populous states of Nigeria in the west, or Ethiopia in the east, or whether it's the trillions, literally tens of trillions in mineral wealth locked beneath the Democratic Republic of the Congo or South Africa or over 24 other African countries, the whole continent's full of mineral wealth, or maybe it's just the geographic position of Africa itself that we could look at as a colossal continent that's just smack in the middle of basically the whole world, right? You got East Asia that way, you got North America that way, you got Europe ahead on top of you. You're smack in the middle. Africa and his people have for centuries been hamstrung and held back. Ibrahim Traoré, though, symbolizes a bright and ambitious future that tens of millions look towards with hopeful sparkles in their eyes. For the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, I'm Mahfouz, and I'll see you on the next one.